What's going on, my creatures of the night? As you know, I am back tonight in full fledged. I'm gonna be doing the whole deal again. And don't think for one second that when I was gone, I did not want to do videos. I always want to do videos. This is something I'm super passionate about. I love each and every person that watches my videos. I love everybody that comments on here. You guys are like family to me. This is like my own family. I love it all, and I'm so glad to finally be back. So today, because I really feel like I owe you guys something, I'm doing my top 20 rock bands of all time. Uh, Now, most of you guys know that I mostly listen to heavy metal, but I also really enjoy, I'm open-minded. I also like a lot of rock too. Heavy metal is not the only thing I listen to. I mean, there's rock, maybe some old school country, some ambient stuff too. I actually make ambient music, just on a side note. But yeah, let's jump into my top 20 rock bands of all time here. Number 20 is Nirvana. It's backwards, but you can tell that's a Nirvana poster. Uh, but here's the thing with Nirvana. Nirvana's legacy, in my opinion, has tarnished, mainly because of today's current generation of teenagers who worship Kurt Cobain and wear the t-shirts and whatnot, but have never actually heard anything by Nirvana. But Nirvana is actually quite an amazing band, even their songs outside of their Nevermind album, which most kids these days, like most kids these days probably haven't even heard the album Bleach, which is a really good album. But they definitely do have a distinct sound in their music and compositions that I truly enjoy. Number 19 is Seether. By the way, guys, I'm gonna go through each band relatively quickly because there's 20 of them, and I don't want to be talking here for an hour. So, yeah, number 19 is Seether. Seether is they're extremely underrated in my opinion. They have a wicked, emotional hard rock feel. And at one point, they even did a track with what's her name, Evanescence, it was actually a pretty good song, and that's a lot coming from me, despite the fact that I'm not the biggest Evanescence fan. But that's a story to tell on a different day. Number 18 is Breaking Benjamin. Okay, Breaking Benjamin is awesome. With this group, you listen to it and you really feel it. They bring out that aggression or that badass in you when you listen to them. They definitely ride the fine line between rock and metal, which is really cool. I mean, it's awesome. Breaking Benjamin, they're awesome. Number 17 is Gong. Gong. Gong is a psychedelic rock band from the 1960s, and when I first heard their album Angel's Egg, I was absolutely mind blown. I was taken to an entirely different world, like just listening to this album. And I didn't even have to take any drugs. Not that I take any drugs. I'm drug-free, actually. That definitely says something, though. If an album can take you to a different world without you having to stimulate that with drugs, it's truly the meaning of psychedelic rock. I mean, it's hypnotic. It's beautiful. Number 16 is Lynyrd Skynyrd. You gotta love some good old 70s southern rock. Being somebody who spends majority of time out in the country or in nature, Skynyrd always takes me back to the country or like when I'm on a public bus or in a mall or in a city or whatever. Number 15 is Van Halen. Van Halen's just one of those bands that truly puts the fun back into rock and roll. It's the kind of music that'll make you feel alive and feel great. Not to mention Eddie Van Halen is an insane guitarist. But yeah, at the time where we had all this prog rock going on, I mean, nothing against prog rock. I love prog rock. But, Van Halen really just brought that fun and that excitement back into rock and roll. Because at one point, things were getting really deep in the 70s. Speaking of deep, number 14 is Deep Purple. Deep Purple is one of the roots of heavy metal, but they are truly a classic rock band. It's good old fashioned old school metal, with a bit of a mix of prog, psychedelic, and even some blues. Um, in general, it's awesome. I've enjoyed majority of their albums, to be honest. Number 13 is Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac is pretty cool. It's something you can just sit back and enjoy listening to. It's soothing, peaceful, sometimes uplifting. Number 12 is Stoned Jesus. Yep, Stoned Jesus. It's a band that exists, and they're incredibly good. They're new, and they're extremely underrated. They're relatively new, I should say. They're progressive, but at the same time, they can go into that hypnotic / psychedelic state, or they can jump into something really hard and heavy. Stone Jesus takes you into a new world almost. It's pretty cool, and their name's pretty funny too. What are we at? Number 11 is Pink Floyd. I love Pink Floyd to death. They started off in the psychedelic world and shifted more towards the progressive storytelling world and concept albums. And man, they are able to tell one hell of a story and take you on a mystical, spiritual, and emotional journey. Concept album after concept album. Let me show you something here. This right here, The Endless River, is magnificent. It's their last album, and it's amazing. I have their older stuff on vinyl in the basement. You can watch my video where I go through my vinyl collection. Sorry to promote myself, but Pink Floyd is amazing. Number 10 is My Morning Jacket. My Morning Jacket is interesting because it's a mix of indie and rock, which I usually don't like indie, but there's something about them that's different than your typical indie band. They have quite a beautiful sound, and the fact that they were able to make it on American Dad is just awesome. Number 9 is Led Zeppelin. Zeppelin is another root of heavy metal, but they ride the line of classic rock and heavy metal with a fine mix of blues incorporated into a classic rock sound, which is just awesome. Not to mention John Bonham is the greatest drummer of all time, in my opinion. Number 8 is Porcupine Tree. Porcupine Tree I recently got into. I haven't been a fan of them for too long. Cover Killer Nation actually got me into them with one of his videos. I can't remember which one. I recently discovered them. They have a very interesting sound with a very deep meaning behind majority of their music. Number 7 is Blue Cheer. Blue Cheer is the seed that planted the tree for heavy metal, and they were definitely a psychedelic band, but incorporated a much heavier sound into that psychedelic sound. That's like taking the two things I love the most, hard rock and heavy metal and psychedelic, majestic, whatever, and mixing it into one. It's amazing. Sorry if I seem really laid back right now. I'm in a pretty good mood, and just feel like running through given the quickest descriptions I possibly can with each band. I don't even, what number am I on? I think we're at number 5. What? Number 5 is the Grateful Dead. The Grateful Dead they are psychedelic. They are the definition of psychedelic music. Psychedelic rock, to be exact. And they have the kind of music that you can just sit back on the couch and listen to for hours and just relax and go into deep thoughts. Or if you're somebody who uses psychedelic drugs, the Grateful Dead is a strong recommendation. But it's not about the drugs. I like Grateful Dead for their music. More importantly, I like Grateful Dead for their live performances. Their live performances were really what made the Grateful Dead who they were. You gotta listen to their live albums if you're gonna get into them. Number 4 is Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam, in my opinion, was grunge. Many people refer to Nirvana as the flagship band of grunge, but to me, it was always Pearl Jam. Their music speaks deeply to me in a way that Nirvana never could. And they had that grunge sound, but they were able to soften it up a bit sometimes and add really, really like deep emotion into it. Number 3 is The Doors. The Doors were dark. They were truly a staple of the dark side of the 1960s. Very dark and bluesy. You know, you knew that when you were listening to a Doors song, or The Doors, you were prepared to go down that long, dark road. A road which I, of course, enjoy being taken down with their music. Jim Morrison was a poet, man. He was an artist who was one of a kind, and may he rest in peace. He's a guy I look up to a lot, actually. Music wise, nothing else. Number 2 is the Foo Fighters. You know, here's the thing. Dave Grohl was in one awesome band, Nirvana, and then he started another successful band, the Foo Fighters, who truly are the band that prove that rock and roll is not dead. Here's to Gene Simmons. They have such a kick-ass feel in their music, but again, they can soften things up sometimes. They can appeal to really any audience who listens to rock or even country. You know, it's always fun music to listen to. And number 1 is Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains is one of a kind. The vocal harmonizations, the emotion, the grunge-driven instrumentation, it's all perfect. I could listen to Alice in Chains for hours and hours. They are truly an amazing band. In the 90s, I feel, along with Pearl Jam, they really revolutionized grunge, but added their own style into the mix. I love Alice in Chains. They're amazing. And that concludes my top 20 rock bands of all time. And I would like to thank you guys for sitting through all of that. And thank you guys for watching my Creatures of the Night. And good day to you. Rock on.